Of course. My corner. Going into the championship rounds, they just kept yelling at me. You got to close the show. You got to win the championship rounds because they're not gonna give it to you. You got to win the championship rounds because it was one round where I dominated in the scorecards. They gave it to Canelo, and that just changed the whole mentality of the fight. They was just like, all right, you got to go out there and win these rounds. You got to go out there and win these rounds.
They wanted to steal it. Bernie's words showed just how tense things were in the corner. It wasn't only Canelo they were facing, but also the numbers being written down by the officials. Every round became about more than punches. It was about making sure history couldn't be taken away. For Crawford and his team, the fear of being robbed felt just as real as the fight itself. Bernie later admitted the entire corner was worried the victory could slip through their hands.
But listen, so we was worried they'd just give it to Canelo just for nothing. Just give it to him. So we had to. Bud came straight out. Did you see how he went out there and went straight to him? Set the tone?
Right away.
Oh, God.
He never chased him. He never chased him around the ring.
No, Crawford never ran.
No, Canelo never.
Those moments revealed the reality of a corner battling more than just the man across the ring. They understood that one questionable scorecard could undo everything Crawford was building. That fear quickly transformed into fuel, pushing Bud to seize control inside the ropes. Each exchange became evidence that he wasn't willing to let judges decide his destiny. In that high-pressure storm, Crawford made his statement loud and clear. Even veteran coach Robert Garcia highlighted the weaknesses Canelo brought into the matchup, suggesting that once the judges were taken out of the equation, Canelo's usual approach wasn't enough to carry him to victory.
He's fought the same way the last 4 or 5 fights, enough just to get the win, or maybe the judges to give him the win. Throws one punch at a time, one punch at a time, looks for just that one part, he opens up, that hook he was throwing over and over, reaching in with that hook, his right hand down. There's a lot of things that you can't do over and over if you have a good game plan, if you have somebody giving you the right instructions. You can't do it over and over for 4 fights. There's got to.
Garcia's comments painted a telling picture. Canelo wasn't in control. He leaned on familiar patterns and seemed to count on the judges to hide the gaps in his performance. It almost looked like the system was designed to keep him safe round after round. But Crawford's sharp adjustments shattered that shield, leaving no doubt in the minds of fans or officials. Bud showed that the truth couldn't be denied. Garcia also acknowledged that Crawford's focus and relentless work ethic were on full display. He noted how the skepticism surrounding Bud only pushed him to train harder and rise above every expectation.
He's very talented. He's a very disciplined fighter also. He's healthy. And, a lot of people were saying, he hasn't fought, or he didn't look too good against Madrimov at 154. How can he look good? He's a talented fighter, and that challenge for him pushed him even harder to train harder and to be better. That challenge, went up against Canelo, moving up 2 divisions, hearing that people are saying, he didn't look too good against Madrimov, so how could he look good at 68? Well, that motivated more, man. He trained hard. He did what he had.
That perspective revealed the true drive fueling Crawford's performance. He wasn't just battling Canelo. He was silencing every critic in the process. The pressure of stepping up in weight became his greatest weapon instead of a weakness. What many expected to break him only refined him into something unstoppable. On fight night, that fire left no room for the judges to deny him. Garcia went further, shifting the focus toward Canelo's camp. He spoke on the preparation and business side of things, suggesting that flaws in their strategy may have left the door wide open for Crawford to seize the moment.
They've made a lot of money together, and that's what they're all about, the business. I don't think they took the fight lightly, because they couldn't have, but because Canelo, from what I hear, is very disciplined, trains very hard. But I think when it came to the game plan or the instructions, could have been a little bit better.
This angle added a new layer to the narrative. Canelo might have carried discipline, but discipline without the right blueprint can only take you so far. It revealed just how much of the fight leaned on politics, money, and reputation, factors outside the ropes. Legendary analyst Teddy Atlas didn't hold back when giving his thoughts. He admitted that from the moment this fight was announced, he already knew the danger Crawford would bring into the ring.
You know, I've been on the wrong side, but it's nice to be on the right side. But I felt like I was on the right side. I felt the way Crawford felt. What people ask me, Teddy, when did you know? When were you were so sure he was going to win this fight? You were saying it, a year ago or more. When did you know that he was going to win this fight? That there was no one else. You said nobody can win this fight. Only one guy. And he's going to win it convincingly, easily. When did you know that? And I'm gonna say what I really mean, but also what I understand Crawford said. But I said it myself before. I knew when he signed the contract. when he signed the contract, I knew that Canelo was making a mistake. That he had no idea, like he didn't have an idea what Beaver was. He had no idea. And unfortunately, the judges did the same thing they did in the Beaver fight. They scared the crap out of us. They made us realize they were going to rob him if he didn't destroy him, if he didn't dominate. Dominate! I mean, are you kidding me? He dominated!
His remarks carried the kind of certainty that only comes from a veteran's eye. Atlas wasn't simply predicting a Crawford victory. He was warning that the judges could turn it into another nightmare. Like so many controversial fights before, the fear of robbery hovered over the arena, forcing Crawford to take destiny into his own hands. For him, it was dominance or disaster, and Atlas recognized that from the very start. That's why every round felt like it carried the weight of history. In the end, Crawford's performance validated Atlas's foresight and erased every doubt. As the final bell rang, Atlas broke it down with blunt honesty, pointing out what was plain to see. Crawford's command left almost nothing for Canelo to hold on to.
I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to give Canelo 2 rounds. 2 rounds! And I'm being nice. I'm not being a wise guy. I'm being honest. I'm being a professional. He won maybe. And if you want to make it a shutout, I wouldn't say you were crazy. Because I don't think I'm crazy. Just a little bit angry sometimes because of my sport that I love. That if he doesn't dominate the way he did, they're going to give it to Canelo. The way that one judge tried to make it a close fight against Mayweather many years ago. Are you kidding? The way the Beaver people... In the Beaver fight, I thought Beaver won 10 rounds. They tried to do the same thing. 115, 113? Are you kidding me? Maybe they just don't understand math. Maybe they think that I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they think 115 is 119. Maybe, it's different kinds of, numeral. The way they came up with the numerals, with the math, maybe that's what it is. Maybe.
His words carried the kind of certainty only a seasoned veteran could offer. Atlas wasn't just predicting a Crawford win. He was warning that the judges could turn it into another nightmare. Just like in past fights, it became clear that it was dominance or disaster, and Atlas sensed that from the very beginning. Every round carried the weight of history. In the end, Crawford's performance validated Atlas's warnings and erased every doubt. As the final bell rang, Atlas broke it down with unflinching honesty. He pointed out what the whole world had witnessed. Crawford's control left almost nothing for Canelo to claim, proving Atlas was right from the start.
Stephen A. Smith, I did a segment with him. A lot of people saw it the day before. And, I said, I like Crawford. Like I said, when his contract was signed, when it was fair. And then he was a bigger favorite. He was a big underdog. He was 2-1 at one point, if I remember correctly.
And it closed at closer to plus 135, plus 140.
Yeah. Once people knew who I was picking. I'm kidding. But I was telling Stephen A. Smith, he said, Teddy, why do you like him so much? I said, why do you like 3D TV more than regular TV? Because it's 3D! Because it's got more dimensions to it. Why do you like digital better than Betamax? I still use Betamax. I gotta tell you, I still got a fax machine, Rich. I do. I got a fax machine. I'm old-fashioned. What are you gonna do? But you remember VHS, VHR, whatever it's called, right? All that stuff. Betamax, and then it went to digital. I was the last guy at ESPN, the whole campus, that still got sent VCR tapes. They had to send them to me. I had a cassette player. I put them in. I didn't know how to do digital, but digital, it's the way to go, babe. It's the way of the future. It's faster. It's quicker, right? You got all that stuff in the air, going through the air. That's cool.
Atlas's explanation painted Crawford as something rare in modern boxing. Where most fighters seemed predictable, Crawford brought layers of strategy, depth, and angles that left opponents confused. Atlas emphasized that this wasn't a gamble, it was certainty. He recognized in Crawford the kind of qualities that even judges couldn't overlook, no matter how hard they tried. That belief wasn't built on hype, but on the trained eye of someone who had watched champions rise and fall. To Atlas, Crawford wasn't just another contender, he was the future unfolding in real time. When comparing Canelo and Crawford, Atlas kept his assessment fair but firm. He gave Canelo his respect, yet made sure to underline the crucial differences that set Bud apart.
Today I said, Canelo's a nice, solid guy. He went nuts. Solid! He goes, Teddy, he's Canelo. I said, he's a solid guy. His technique, his basics are solid. His fundamentals are solid. He's strong. He's physical. He's moved up and become, solid at a heavier weight than when he started in his career. He's grown into. He's got great experience. All of that. He's a good, solid guy. I'm not knocking him. In the old days, that was the greatest compliment that the people in my business could give you. Guy's a solid guy. Can fit in with anyone. He knows how to fight. He's a solid guy, but he's not digital. There's only a few
who recognizes greatness the moment it appears. Canelo was powerful, skilled, and seasoned, but there was a ceiling to what he could do. Crawford, by contrast, seemed to be operating on a digital level, while others were still stuck in analog. That gap made one thing clear. No matter how the judges saw it, Crawford had already set himself apart. And that separation turned any robbery attempt powerless. It was the kind of distance that elevates a great fighter into an untouchable legend. Demetrius Andrade also weighed in on how the fight played out, admitting that his first impression shifted as the rounds went on. What he observed revealed exactly why Crawford was able to take control in ways few anticipated.
Let's see. I figured that at first I was thinking, it's gonna take, a while for that fight to develop in the later rounds. And if Terence can take them shots, he'll be able to, pretty much outwork and move and be able to, hit him with some counter shots. And pretty much that's what it was. At first, I didn't know if he was be able to take the heavier shots, but then I realized, Canelo, yeah, he's a big guy, but he's not really a big guy when it comes to somebody like a Terence who's has reach, has length, in that aspect, and that could put on the size, and also can box. And he did a great job. When you watched it, he did a great job. He kept with a great strategy, staying outside.
His reflection captured the same shock many viewers felt in real time. At first glance, the size and strength appeared to tilt in Canelo's favor, but Crawford's reach and precision quickly flipped the script. Andrade's words underlined how fast the momentum shifted once Bud proved he could absorb the pressure. What began as doubt transformed into admiration, turning a story of possible robbery into one of undeniable dominance. Andrade also praised the game plan Crawford brought into the ring, pointing out the perfect mix of patience, timing, and grit that defined Bud's performance from the opening bell to the final moment.
He kept with a great strategy, staying outside, using his reads, moving when he needed to move, and those moments where he needed to make them count, he made them count because he was able to, because the southpaw, the combinations when he had the chance to let them things go, he did that. He held his ground. He showed that he can get underneath, clinch, hold, and show that he also has the will and power to, keep his ground. So man, he did a great job fighting.
His breakdown explained why Crawford looked nearly untouchable against the sport's biggest name. It wasn't reckless offense. It was calculated control, mixed with explosive bursts at just the right moments. Andrade noticed how Crawford held his ground, blended defense with offense, and pushed Canelo out of his comfort zone. It was the kind of showing that left no room for excuses on the scorecards, proving that true greatness comes from both skill and determination. Andrade also touched on Canelo's power, questioning if it was ever as threatening as many had claimed. His perspective added yet another layer to the conversation.
I'm not saying, I don't think Canelo's the hardest hitting puncher out there. My damn self, like at the end of the day, yeah, everybody can, knock somebody down or, get knockouts, but we haven't seen Canelo really put people out consistently like a Triple G, you know what I'm saying? Or like a Dimitri Beterbiev. Like, it ain't that type of situation. But I wasn't. He probably did.
It was like we had watched the fight before it had happened.
Absolutely.
Because that's the way it went.
In the presence of genius, you don't even know it.
Absolutely. We actually called it. We said, look, listen, that Terence Crawford would build up an early lead, and when he had to bite down, when he had to do it, that 9th round especially, he stood there and showed that he could trade with him, and he could take the shots, and he could mix it. And the difference between the two was, like we said, Duke, was the combination punching, the ring control from Terence Crawford. They were all the question marks. Could he do that? Could he cope with the power of Canelo Alvarez, who's adapted now and had to adjust in his career? He now throws single shots, and that's why it was the calculated gamble. Well, it wasn't really a gamble because me and Simon called it from the beginning.
Never
that we
doubt.
go, Mayweather ticks every department. You go, the only thing that people are hedging their bets on is that Canelo's the bigger guy, but he wasn't really anyway.
No.
You can see, because Crawford come down from 185 anyway, you can see the physicality's in there. He was all the size of...
Edward said long before this fight, I just think styles make fights. In Canelo's style, this style of Canelo was suited for Crawford. He can't throw combinations anymore. There's no more head movement from Canelo.
Yeah.
He tries to walk people down and hit you all over the body and all over the head if he can, but he can't put his combination. He can't sustain the combinations. And what really impressed me about Crawford was the fact that it was a question of he didn't want to trade off early with Canelo.
No.
He traded late with Canelo because he couldn't take his power early. So in the early rounds, he was just pity-patting and just tapping him, kept spinning him, kept turning him and driving him mad. And then in the later rounds, as Canelo started to fade, from round 7, round 8, as the pace got a little bit slower, then Crawford's confidence, he was confident enough within himself to stand and trade with him. And even when he got on inside, he was hitting him with 3s and 4s, hard shots. Constant shots. He just kept spinning him, kept turning him, and Canelo didn't really know where he was. And another great thing about Crawford, stayed southpaw throughout the whole fight, and Canelo admitted after that he couldn't handle a southpaw.
Couldn't work it out.
Crawford is without a shadow of doubt the best fighter I've ever seen live. Ricky Burns with me. The only grievance I've got with Crawford is I get sacked after the Crawford fight and lose his first fight. Ricky Burns is his first loss for me in 23 fights. So I wasn't too pleased, but Crawford is a fantastic fighter. Mate, both stances, his balance is fantastic. His shot selection, both stances, excellent. Just a class above. He's just a class above. I think he's one of the best. If not, and this might not go down well with a lot of people, I think he could be the best ever fighter